Hello, you're listening to Oops Spoilers. This is the podcast where we handle stories and life, and we just like to yap and kind of share the experience and the journey of loving stories together. So today I have Miss Illiana with me, and I have her little bio that I'm gonna read because I'm fancy like that. So Illiana says on her website, "A Time to Heal." My work supports women in two sacred spaces, healing and building. So she offers one-on-one support for women navigating health challenges and guides those who feel called to create soul-led health businesses rooted in integrity, rest, and sustainability.
Yes.
So that's just a little background into who she is. But everyone, studio audience, please welcome Illiana.
Hey, wow. That was such an introduction.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We really
Man,
strive for
dang.
the
You
best
you
here.
do. You did your research.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, little intro question I like to ask all of my guests, all two of you so far. Any good books, movies, TV shows? What are you been into?
Recently, well, the TV show that has been taking up every spare cell in my brain is called Robin Hood from MGM. And I don't know what drug they put in the show, y'all. It is so incredible. I've always been a fan of Robin Hood, and they did an incredible job of adapting it and really diving into the Normans versus Saxons, the different religions, the historical background. While also giving an incredible romance that has just got me hooked. The first season is finally fully out, and I am hoping if everybody goes and watches it, they'll probably redeem it for season two. It's incredible. The actors, they're actually like new actors. They're not just celebrities, so they fit the personas and characters perfectly, and it just every episode is incredible, and I highly recommend. So that's like been taking up most of my brain space. And then while I did not watch Heated Rivalry, it did kind of send me into like a hockey romance tailspin, and so I've been reading thousands of hockey romances. And I'm gonna be honest, like most of them aren't good.
Oh my goodness.
But that doesn't seem to stop me.
That's so fun though. I gotta put you on to if you like hockey romance. Celeste
Yeah.
Friars. I actually know her personally, and she writes hockey romance, and I had the absolute pleasure to go and watch a hockey game with her, and
Stop.
that was really
That's so
fun.
fun.
So if you're
That is
in
super
your
fun.
yeah, if you're in your hockey romance grind, anybody listening, gotta go and check out Celeste Friars.
You know what's so funny is I had read Icebreaker like 2 years ago, and I
Yeah.
lost my mind because it was horrible. I'm so sorry to anybody who loves Icebreaker, but like it was for me it was an intense 800 pages of being inside a frat boy's mind, and that was
Mm,
really I was deep behind enemy territory, and it was not a fun time. So it kind of
yeah.
scared me off of Icebreaker. I mean, excuse me, hockey. But I don't know what happened recently. I've been into it. I've been into it,
You
guys. It's
know,
bad, but it's also fun.
'tis the season, especially with Snowmageddon upon us. At the time of
I
recording, folks, it is the great snow ice storm of 26, and so far, nothing is happening. For
Yeah.
me,
If you've
personally,
seen this, we've survived.
if this gets released, it's because somebody made it. Some part of the Oops Spoilers team, even if it's just Mallory, she made it. She made it, and you know what? The legacy will continue. Um,
Amen.
so anyway, I know we had the little bit of a bio, little intro, but I would love if you would kind of take us through, just a little bit of your story,
Yeah.
especially, as it comes and pertains to like how stories
Yes.
kind of guided you to the point that you're at now,
Okay.
your background with your business and A Time to Heal. Let's get into it.
Amazing. Okay. Well, I think storytelling has been in my veins since I was born. I always loved reading and hearing others read to me. My mom homeschooled me and did an amazing job of making sure I got all the really amazing literature, and just like that's what we did. We read all the time. I wasn't an iPad kid. So we just did all the stories, and they were fascinating to me, and I loved being a storyteller. I have four younger siblings and was constantly just like putting stories together. And even when it pertains to like songs, I would just pick a melody and just like start putting stories to it. And like they loved it. Like that's how I would, sing them to sleep at night. And so storytelling has always been a way that I can share visions and like ideas and dreams and like paint beautiful worlds. So it was kind of always in me. And from a very young age, I knew like I didn't know how and I didn't know what it was going to be about, but I knew that I would write a book someday. I
Mhm.
thought my time had come in 5th grade when and I
The
decided to
5th
write.
grade stories really be hitting different, let me tell you.
I don't know what was in the air, at least. But 5th grade me decided to write Christopher Columbus fan fiction, which I don't really sure why. But you know what? It was poppin'. Like the romance was insane.
Oh
Anyway,
my goodness. One
this
day
is
we're gonna be famous and the Christopher Columbus fanfiction is gonna get leaked. But you know what? The world, you might get
will
canceled,
never
but
recover. But you know
uh
what? It's all handwritten. It's all in a notebook somewhere, so it can't get leaked. I didn't do it on a computer, so I'm safe. But yeah, you heard it here first. But
I love that. Oh my
so
gosh.
anyway, I did a lot of writing, and then when it came to reading, that was just my entertainment. It was what I did. Like, my mom was very worried about me because she was like, "You don't do anything." We had this library, and on Sundays after church, we would go to the library, and I would get like a stack of books and come home and lock myself in my room, and that is what I would do every Sunday. I would read like maybe 4 books a week,
Oh my
at like
goodness.
11 or 12. So it was wonderful. I've always just so that was kind of like my background. I loved Chronicles of Narnia. That was the thing, like we read the books and then we watched the movies and it was like I think that was the first time that I was like, "Oh my goodness, books and stories hold so much power and
Mhm.
like in a beautiful artistic way." And I loved how it reflected the divine. Like it was just incredible. Like it blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was really probably the first time that I was like, it was kind of my first fantasy, but it was like in this spiritual realm. So that was really mind blowing and life changing for me. So that's kind of how I
Mhm.
got started in books and writing. And then when I became a teenager, some big things happened in my life. Some traumatic events happened. I got really sick, and from that, I found writing became this lifeline for me. It kind of saved me. I put all of this hurt and pain that I couldn't even ever share with another human being into words. And I just had notebooks. I mean, it was like a something had been turned on and like a faucet had been turned on. I could not stop writing. I was writing 3 to 4 times a day. I really struggled with nightmares and not sleeping. So I would just stay up all night. And like I was in my sad girl era. And I am forever thankful for those years because the stuff it produced was really amazing that I can't tap into anymore. And so that was when like something inside me just opened up and just like I started writing like never before. And I found I really loved playing with words and making beautiful things from pain.
Mhm.
I felt like an artist for the first time in my life. I was like, oh man, like I could take these really dark, horrible things and turn them into beauty. And so that kind of started me on my real writing, past fan fiction and really into deep heart stuff. So I started writing poetry and short stories and again just knew like one day I'll write a book. Like when the time is right, when I feel called to it, like I'll know. And I kept like my short stories kept getting longer and I kept writing and one night I had this idea for a book. And it was the last chapter. It was like how a book ended. And I just wrote it down and I was like, man, that's like really interesting. And over the next few days, I could not get it out of my head. Like usually when I write, I put it down and then I don't think about it again. But this one, it was just like the story kept going over my mind. I was like, dang, like this is really good. So I kept writing and it was just random notes. It wasn't even like a full armored plot. It was just kind of like this and like I like this and what if it goes like this? And so over the next week, I told my mom, I was like, I think I'm gonna write a book. Like now. It's really impractical and not really the best time of my life, but like I have this story to share. And I kind of always
Mhm.
joke that God and I co-author this book like fully because he would just be like, "Hey, here's kind of the vibes." Like I kind of had like the vibe of the book that I wanted and then he was like, "Here is the message I want you to share. Like here's what the characters are going to learn. Here's what I want you to teach." And anyway, a year and a half later, I'm still writing it. It's the most intense project I've ever worked on. It's a trilogy. I'm very excited to get it published, and it's healed me in ways I didn't even know was possible. I look at certain seasons or like certain parts of the book, and I'm like, oh, I remember that season.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know where sometimes it's a little too personal. Editing Iliad's gonna have a, a time to try to edit, but deep personal stories, and I deeply believe with my whole heart that it's like there's stuff in there that needs to be shared. I'm not sure how and I'm not sure when, so I just stay faithful and I write. So anyway, that's kind of like a super long-winded story of kind of how all of the writing pieces and all of the pain and trauma and all the things kind of came together, and it just I found this lifeline and I was like, I can't let go of this. Like this is a safe, sacred space for all of my pain, and God turned it into something really beautiful.
Yeah, wow. There's so much in that that I like wanna like impact like draw out, unpack, I guess is the word I'm looking
Yeah,
for,
yeah.
and just like highlight. And I
Let's do
mean,
it.
just of all, like the way that the writing was the lifeline for you in
Yeah.
that really hard time, and that it gave you something to do and to focus on and to like remove your mind from, the nightmares and the very real things that were going on in your life. And
Yeah.
also, now that you are continuing to grow and to heal and to like
Yeah.
progress like further away from the, like that really deep and dark,
Yeah.
like the darkest night of the soul type point,
Yeah.
that you're still telling that story and still unpacking that and still working on it is like such a beautiful marriage of like writing something real, you know, and then also not exclusively writing from a place of unhealed trauma to where you're just
Yes.
dumping trauma on your readers.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
now that
yeah.
you're like processing and healing from it and still working on that same project,
Yeah.
it gets kind of this full effect that's going to
Yeah.
be so helpful for so many people,
Oh,
if and
man,
when the time
that's
is
so
to share
beautiful.
that. Yeah, which is
Absolutely. Oh, man, that's such a great way to look at it because, like, something really specific in the book, I'm sure you've picked up. Like, so I'm a believer,
mhm,
and when I started this book, I my faith was a mess, like, and I was walking away. I didn't want anything to do with the faith in the church, and I was so deeply hurt by some of the things. And for any of my girls with trauma, you know that like
mm,
it completely shatters any idea of anything you've ever had. Your entire worldview is in shambles, and it's like to pick up those pieces is horribly hard. And with
mhm,
my faith, I didn't know anything. I literally did not know a single thing anymore. And like I could tell you all the things, theologically and all, right? Like I could put all these pieces together, but like it wasn't connected and I was just so done.
yeah,
And when I started this book, that's where I was at. And I knew there was going to be a character kind of based off of God and Aslan and this whole thing. And when I started writing, I was so angry. And so anytime he was there, like you felt that. You can read it in my writing where there's something there. And then one of my female characters, like I poured all that rage into her and she can't stand this God. She's just like, how dare you? Like, how can you be this good God? And so all of my questions that I had, all of my pain and just like heartbreak, I was just pouring into this book, and you hear it, you read it. And they're valid questions.
yeah,
And I remember being like, well, as the writer, I'm supposed to know the answer to all this. Like I'm supposed to have answers to all of these questions, and I didn't. And I didn't know what to do with that because I was like, well, maybe one day, like maybe God will tell me what to do, but I don't have any answers. And so if you read in the first part of the book in the draft, like there's a lot of questions and there's not a single answer. And
mm,
now I'm at this point where like I have completely deconstructed and reconstructed and have a really beautiful growing faith with God, and it's really healed and still some uncertainties and doubts, and I'm not religious anymore and I don't affiliate with churches, but I follow Jesus, and some of those questions have started to become answered, and it was through writing that I found those answers of, well, if you do this, if you believe this, why? And he would just kind of give me the answers and I'd be like, alrighty, well, I guess I'll put that in the book. And then slowly it would start to sit on my heart and I would be like, oh yeah, okay, I see that. I believe that. And so it's funny that you say that because it really was like you in the beginning, there's all this trauma, there's all this pain, there's all these unanswered questions, and those are good. I think that those form good stories, right?
mhm,
But I'm so thankful that I've healed enough now that I have these answers and now I have an understanding of pain and why we go through it, that I can kind of add this roundedness. You have that raw, deep, authentic pain in these characters that I think a lot of people can relate to. But on the other
mhm,
end, there's answers, there's resolution, there's healing, and there's a point to all of the pain. And so I think you said it really beautifully of, I don't know, it's cool to see how that works.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a full circle moment, and like we don't always get to see or experience those full circle moments of like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is the reason, this is why." Like all of those little moments, all of these parts of the path that I experienced, this is why that happened. But when you do, it's so
Yes.
cool. And those are the moments that, we should always be like journaling, or like the Bible talks a lot about like setting up like the altars of remembrance, and making yourself like a commemorative
Yeah.
place to just come back to. And so that not just yourself, but like generations after can come back to the same place, the same moment,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
say, like, relive that story, and say, like, this is what God has done for me. And this is like what I came from, where I came from, and where I'm going, based off of that.
Wow, that's
So
good. That's
I
beautiful.
love, yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So as far as your, um, when you came to the serious point of your writing journey, and you were in the middle of so many things, like not, like physical struggles, but then also
Yeah.
all of this like mental and emotional things that you were having to unpack and deal with, that was,
Yeah.
just so like so interwoven,
Yeah.
and just affecting, your whole person.
Yeah.
I would love like to hear whatever you feel like sharing, as far as like when your body, or your like just physically, like your existence in this, in this plane of life, couldn't like didn't feel reliable or sustainable, didn't feel like maybe you could even create anything physical, because of just how much you were dealing with. Like, what were some practical ways that you were able to take care of yourself? Like, when that
Yeah.
included writing and processing
Yeah.
those things, and when it didn't, because I know
Yeah.
personally a lot of people that are really like are writers, are creatives, are, like have these callings and these inspirations on their lives, but like their body is actively fighting them, and
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
even feel like they have the like space to like pour into that, like, so I just
Oof, this is a good
anything that
question. Yeah.
helps
Yeah. Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love this question because it's been such a journey for me because in the beginning I didn't take care of myself. My writing, while it was a healing lifeline, I poured everything into it and it drained me along with I'm healing from a myriad of chronic health issues. A fun thing that happens when some really traumatic events happen in your life, I have CPTSD. So that's basically what happens when you live in an extended period of trauma. And it started to affect my body in a really physical way. You can hear about my story on my website or my Instagram, but I was pretty physically bedridden for about a year. And then for the next 2 years, just out of commission, physically just in a lot of pain, but mentally was really in a bad place. I had crippling anxiety. Another fun little thing about trauma is sometimes your brain protects itself and it doesn't remember certain things. And then when it decides it's the right time, sometimes it reveals those things. And as a teenage girl, that's pretty scary.
Mhm.
When you start to have memories of things that were never supposed to happen to you. And so I had absolutely debilitating, crippling anxiety. Could not go to the grocery store alone, could not leave my house if somebody rang the doorbell, like full on panic attacks and breakdowns. So, like, mentally, like you said, super unstable and just feeling like I like how you said it, like feeling like your existence on this earth is not a stable thing. It was absolutely the reality. And so writing was sort of this like desperate, I have to get it out, but also it's like so hard to write this stuff. And so I didn't do a great job in those first couple of years of taking care of myself. What I have learned in the past 5 years since then is um, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Mhm.
And the more I have let people pour into me, I've gotten a mentor, I've gotten my life coach, I have a beautiful group of friends, and accepting help as a hyper independent girly was so hard for me, but opening myself up to other people helping me has been very, very helpful because then I can outpour.
Mhm.
And sometimes, especially with creative projects and the company that I own, like it's all outpour. You're just giving everything of yourself. And I got to a point where I was like, "Dang, I'm giving everything and I don't have anything. I'm not getting
Mm,
anything poured into me." So that would probably be my first really, really tangible tool is just find things that fill your cup. And mentally, whatever that looks like for you, it's going to be so unique and different for each person. But that was key for me of starting to get to a healthy place and even a healthy perspective, but healthy relationship with writing. Because
mm,
it started to consume me a little bit. I'm a creative and like if I go a few days without creating, I get itchy. Like I'm like, give me something to create. A little bit of a story, but I was moving and like I had 20 days to move out of my house. We were packing up an old house. Like it was a whole thing. And like
mhm,
I had a bajillion and one things to do. The kids needed to be enrolled in school. Like it was a whole thing. And I was creating, like, a costume, like, I had to. I was losing my mind. It was, like, 1 a.m. in the morning, and I was like, "Just give me some material." And so creativity is, like, one of those things that it's, like, it's a monster that needs to be fed a little bit, and so, kind of finding a healthy relationship with that, finding healthy connections that can pour into you. I mean, I'll just be real honest breaking it down really easily, like, get good sleep.
mhm,
Get good sleep. Don't write till 1 a.m. and then have to be up at 6. And drink water and eat healthy food that is actually nutritious and like can sustain you because you can't again, you cannot pour out of an empty cup. So those are
mhm,
super basic things, but it's like, man, once I mastered those, life became magically easier. But then also for me, I'm an introverted extrovert, so I can do these things, I can be social, but I also have to have silence. I have to have time to just be and
mhm.
really slowing my life down that I could do that and not always feeling the need to be busy every hour of every day
Yeah.
was really hard for me, but I cherish it now. Like I live a very slow life and I love it so much and I protect it with my whole being because
Mhm,
it's we only get to live this life once. And I saw a beautiful metaphor yesterday that was like, imagine reading a book where you can only read that page once. You can never turn back the pages.
mhm,
That's life. And it's like, if we are so rushed and trying to just hurry through life all of the time and get to the next thing, get to the next accomplishment, next goal, you will hurry yourself through life and be like, oh my
mhm.
gosh, I missed so much. And so slowing down, noticing the whimsy in things, like I am utterly obsessed with whimsy. I think that it is a beautiful and valuable part of life and looking for those little things. I don't think that one day life just gets better. Like
Mm.
it's something you have to actively work on. And a really easy way to do that is get 8 hours of sleep, drink more water, and frickin' find the whimsy because it's everywhere if you look for it.
I wanna put that on a t-shirt. Frickin' find the whimsy. That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, and, like, I mean, those things sometimes you were like, "Okay," like, you need to drink enough water or else you die, and you need to eat really good or else you die, and then you need
Yeah,
to sleep or else you die, and it's like, "Okay, sure, like, death is on the
yeah,
table," but, like,
yeah,
also if like just the drastic difference that it makes in like your mental clarity and your emotions and
yeah.
just
Just
the way that
quality
you
of life.
really no really it's like okay yeah sure like good job you're alive because you drank enough water and you ate and you slept but like let's take it to the next level and okay are you actually eating not just food but yeah like quality food that's like prepared in a way that's nutritionally beneficial to you and you're drinking not just enough water to live but enough to thrive and you're sleeping not just enough to
Right,
function but you're sleeping
right.
enough to have excess energy in order to be able to create and to heal and to do all the things that your body does and your soul does when you're not just in like bare minimum survival mode
Yeah.
all the difference in the world
It
for
does. It does. Absolutely. Life wasn't meant
yeah
to be lived in survival mode. Like, I firmly believe that. There
mm,
are seasons, but I think that the majority of life is meant to be lived in a really beautiful way and you have trials and tribulations, but I don't know if it was ever meant to take over every part of your life. And
mhm,
I think especially in America, we like to be in survival mode and it's this badge of honor the busy you are. I didn't even sleep last night. Like
mm,
well, I function on 4 hours of sleep, and it's like, "That's great, Becky, but you're also dying, so maybe that's not the honor that you think it is." But we kind of built this mindset of, like, the hustle culture, like, the faster you move, the harder you work, the less you sleep, the more activities you do, you are worth more if you do those things, and, I don't know. I'm starting to think that the happiest people I've ever met are living their slow, whimsical, dreamy lives, because they
Yeah.
refuse to partake in the hustle culture. And I think that often creativity isn't usually born out of depletion.
Right. Yeah, for
Um,
sure. I was just looking to see if I could find the lyrics for you. But there's a song that I love that like talks about this. Also, one of my friends, Chelsea Locklear, she has a song called Sabbath, and it just talks about, the idea that rest is so important. Like, again, not just because you need it to survive, but because like God commanded it and there's a reason, like,
yeah.
because we're out here and everyone's addicted to caffeine, and like, yeah, like you said, busyness and not sleeping is just not prioritized or not valued. And
Yeah.
I think that frees up so much, like, pressure that we put on ourselves, I guess, to be like, okay, well, I have to be, especially if you're in a place of like healing from trauma or illness, like I have to be producing or like have something quantitative that I can like show the world to say like I'm a productive member of society, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, no, like if you're
Yeah.
prioritizing your rest and like your wellness as best as you're able, like that is productive. And though you might not be able to like show up to like the cosmic, board meeting and be like, okay guys, here's my numbers for the quarter, here's what I was able to do, it might not look like anything on that piece of paper, but down the road, as you continue healing and like recovering and resting in that is going to eventually lead to the correct kind of
Exactly.
productivity.
Yes. I so agree. Here's what I think. God created the entire universe, and he's
Mm,
like freaking God, and he took a day to rest.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that I don't know, I remember being in this place where my life was slow, and not in a fun, whimsical way, in a like,
Mm,
I can't do anything for longer than 2 hours kind of thing, and it was so frustrating, and like it felt like humiliation. Now I think it wasn't, but when you physically can't do anything more than a few hours and everything costs energy, a shower just about takes you out. Like, it's such a humbling place because you're just like, I don't feel productive. These are supposed to be the years of my life. Like, this is supposed to be the time of my life. I'm young and I'm supposed to be healthy, and I
mm,
can't. And there's such a frustration, but like, you're not going to just bully yourself into healing. You can't work harder to heal the very thing that's depleted. And in very like typical eldest daughter fashion, part of the reason I got sick was I just ran myself into the ground. I didn't eat food. I didn't drink water. I had protein bars and coffee and was working 2 jobs and trying to finish school. Like, and I
mm,
ran myself into the ground. And I think that you can't pour into yourself again from an empty cup. And I've said that like 4 times now, but it's so true in so many areas of like,
yeah.
the more you start to rest, the more productive you are. The more I have prioritized 2-hour Epsom salt baths and lovely nighttime routines and yoga and time for myself where I'm not doing anything, the more productive I am. I can get a lot done in 4 hours now. Like, you give me 4
Mhm.
hours and I can get a week's worth, worth of stuff done, but it's
Yeah.
because I'm pouring in. And so it's like, I don't know, it's this idea of, if you want to be able to go into that board meeting and give this list of all the things you did, you have to work up to that. And part of that is being very protective of your space when you heal and rest and recover. So I know that was a bit of a tangent, but I think it's important for creatives, for people who are dealing with sickness or trauma, for any eldest daughters
Mhm.
and overachievers, but really creatives, I think we tend to give everything to our work and pour everything in. And you don't want to, you can't make art without the artist, and you don't want to lose the artist.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I also wanted to ask if you remember or would look back on that really difficult but also transformative time in your life and just like think about anything that you would say first and foremost
Yeah.
to somebody who maybe is in that season right now as an encouragement to them, but also like to people who are, blessed with fantastic health and blessed with
Yeah.
like safe family, safe home, like how can they be present for people who, you know, really like need that support and
Yeah.
are dealing with something that's really difficult and a lot of times not something that you want to burden your friends with or share with people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
just encouragement from the outside and then also from within for people who
Absolutely.
want to be, yeah, want to be living an abundant life and want to be able to be, you
Ooh,
know,
yeah.
like writing and productive, you know,
Okay.
productive and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
of
yeah.
this, but they're not there right now and they're in that frustration season that you talked about, you know.
Okay. So this is kind of a three-part question, so I'm gonna answer it the way you asked it.
Yes.
Okay. To past Illy, to the girl who is sick, to the girl who is trapped in this feeling of cycling patterns and just overwhelmed with the amount of pain and trauma in her life. One, my heart just hurts for you and I want to give you the biggest hug. It's like the hardest thing you will ever do. It's not forever. I promise you there's a way out. There's an end. Nothing lasts forever. And I know it feels like this is never going to go away and I promise it's going to get better. Two, there is a purpose in every bit of pain that you're feeling, whether you see it on this side of heaven or not. Every day, every experience you have, every layer of trauma you have, there's such beautiful purpose and passion in it. Like God is so incredibly kind and like the people who go through the hardest stuff, oh my goodness, it is like you get to see inside of God's soul and like in a really precious way that not everybody gets to. And it's such a blessing. And I know it doesn't feel like it right now. And I can say it because I genuinely thought I would never get out of it. It was going to be, that was going to be my life. And I resigned myself to it. And I was so deep in that hole, I didn't even know light existed anymore. And I just want to promise, like, the girl who's going through this, there's such a beautiful purpose in it and I promise it's gonna get better. Hold on, hang on, cling tightly to Jesus. And that sounds so cliche, and I know it's probably very counterintuitive of what you wanna do, but he's the only reason I'm alive, guys. Like, there is there is I've had so many doctors tell me there was no reason I should be alive. And the trauma that has happened to me, there's no reason I should be alive. Cling tightly to your Heavenly Father because he's such a good dad. Oh my gosh, he's such a girl dad, you guys. And I love getting to see that side of him and his heart, and he has such a heart for people who are hurting and who are going through this. So cling tight to Jesus. It's gonna get better. There's a path out of it, and there's search for what is being shown to you in all of this because there are treasures to be found if you look for them. And there's two paths that you can choose. You can be a victim to it, and you would have every right to be. You have every right to be really pissed off that this is the situation you're in, that this is what you grew up with, that this is what you were born into, and that's okay. Be pissed off. That's healthy too. And you can stay in that mindset. You can stay in the victimhood mindset, and you can do all of that. I did it, and it doesn't get you anywhere. I'll be honest. It just lands you in a deep dark hole. But if you can feel all your emotions, be angry, be sad, be frustrated, and also go, okay, there's something to learn here. How can I find it? It will
Mhm.
be revealed to you. And I think that often those are like the life-changing gems that you're going to get. Also, reach out to me. I can help you if you're dealing with really deep-rooted trauma or physical pain or emotional pain. I would love to help you. I found physical tools that actually work to actually heal because that's what you desire. And I created my business literally for everything that I've created is what I would have needed 5 years ago, 7 years ago. So I've created it for the girl I'm talking to in mind, somebody who's
Mhm.
hopeless, who doesn't know how to get better, who is just deeply, deeply discouraged. I can help you. So please reach out. I would love to help you. And we can talk through a plan of how to get you into a better place physically, emotionally, whatever it might be.
Mhm.
To the girl who's witnessing this or has friends in her life who's dealing with this and is kind of like, I don't know what to do because you grew up in an amazing, safe home and you haven't had to experience those things. First of all, please don't feel guilt. Everybody has their journeys, everybody has their stories, and you have an innocence that this world needs. And I think it is beautiful because you have a heart for people that hasn't been tainted. And that's such a beautiful thing that we need more of. It's so hard when you have friends who are in unsafe situations or are dealing with really deep trauma. And I can't really give much advice, but I can say make meals for them, give them
Mhm.
flowers, drop them off at their door. You don't even have to like interact with them. Just drop them off at their door, drop a hot meal off, drop something they can put in the freezer, and just text you, hey, I love you. I gave this to you, got this for you. If you're at the grocery store and you have a friend who's dealing with depression, just be like, hey, can I pick something up for you? Go the extra mile because the things that you do every day that are really easy, you might take for granted that some people can't. I literally for 2 years could not go to the grocery store. I had crippling anxiety, could not leave my house. And like, I would have meant everything if a friend had said, hey, I'm at the grocery store. Can I pick you up something? You can Venmo me later. Like, literally, it's so just those little things. Or
Mhm.
hey, I saw this book and I thought of you, dropped it off at your doorstep, or I sent it, to your email over Kindle, or just like little acts of service go such a long way. And checking in and just being like, hey, just want you to know I love you and I'm here for you. Those things mean the whole world, really and truly, of just being there and being supportive and not fleeing when it gets really hard. Of course, protect yourself, protect your mental health. If it's too much, obviously step away. But those little things I think can make such a big difference. And being the community that they can't have right now can mean a lot. If you have chronically ill friends, like schedule girl dates that are fun and easy for them. Like do a movie night at their house where they don't have to do anything and you all can just chill and do like a Pinterest board, vision board if you want to on the couch, make really easy ideas that doesn't require a lot of physical energy from them because that again, that means the world to girls who can't get, out of bed, for people with chronic migraines or chronic pain or chronic fatigue. Like having friends who come and meet you in your world is just life-changing. So those would be a few pieces of really practical advice I would give to the girl who is blessed to be able to do that. I think you had one more question. I can't remember what it was.
Me neither, but that was kind of the summary of it was just like,
Perfect.
not just for the people, who are in the fight of their lives, and are like, I don't even have room for advice right now because I'm
Yeah.
just trying to figure out how to do, X, Y, and Z, but also for the people that are like, yeah, like observers, or like, I want to help you, but I don't want to make it worse, and I don't want to make you feel looked down upon or demeaned, but I also
Yeah.
don't want to do nothing. So
Right.
I think that was just a beautiful, like, kind of journey through, here are some things to like take into consideration. And just, I think sometimes when people are working really hard towards something, or feeling really like there is no light left in the world, like to see somebody on the other side, just trying to reach out to them, it, like,
Yeah,
makes a difference, and
it
is
does, you guys. It's
impactful.
huge.
So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
huge.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, do you have any book recommendations or
Ooh,
any, like, movies, like media that you've consumed in regards to like your health and wellness and refilling your creative pot, or keeping it alive when you're not physically
yeah.
able to put pen to paper, anything that kind of like scratch that itch for you?
Oh, I love this question. This is so fun. There's a few pieces of media that have like changed my life, and none of them are mainstream. They're indie films. One is called Sunflower, and it follows a girl who her brain is essentially trying to tell her some traumatic things, and the only way she can get it out is through paint. And it's a beautiful movie. Check the trigger warnings, please. Just protect your own mental health. But it's really
Yeah.
beautiful and a journey through that. And I watched it in a very similar time in my life, and it's just it it combines the artistic piece, it combines the faith piece and the trauma, and it's beautiful and I love it. Another one is it's a Christmas movie, but I would just recommend watching it. It's called I Heard the Bells, and it's about the poet who wrote the song. He lost two wives to very extremely traumatic situations, and then his oldest son went off to fight the Civil War, and he's written incredible pieces that I think changed our nation's history and really is just incredibly beautiful. But the movie does an incredible beautiful job of portraying what happens to creatives and artists and writers when trauma happens, because sometimes the words go silent. For some
Mhm.
of us, they rage, and some of us, they go silent. It's a beautiful movie. I watch it every year. I cry every year, and it's incredibly well done. It's by Sight and Sound Cinema, so again, it's an indie film, but would highly, highly recommend. The message is beautiful, and it's cool to see this carol that we don't really hear about anymore and kind of the origin stories behind it. So
Mhm.
those are two pieces of media for books. I'm gonna be so basic, but Throne of Glass was like the biggest inspiration for me because it just touches on so much and each character. I don't think I've ever cried so hard when I read these books. Sarah J. Maas does such an incredible job of writing deep characters who have like gone through hell and
Yeah.
still reach for the light, still are kind, still want good things, still fight for good. And there's nuanced characters, and I think that she does morally gray very well. That like sometimes I don't really agree with the morally gray just because they're hot doesn't mean they're morally gray. That just means they're just a hot villain.
Yeah.
But I think Sarah J. Maas does a good job of there's characters in there that you're like, dang, I kind of understand why you're doing that, even though it's like kind of horrible.
Yeah.
I think Aelin is a pretty morally gray character. I mean, I think you could argue that. So Throne of Glass was absolutely like the best 8 book series I've ever read, worth every single book, and was a huge inspiration to me. And like I think for me, it even kind of extended. It kind of opened the boundaries of what I thought writing was, and like a series, and just how big you can make your world, and just how big you can make one character's impact on people. So it really opened my eyes to what you can do in writing. And so I will always recommend it. Of course, I will always recommend Erin Phillips' books. I'm obsessed with her books, and I think that they're incredible. They're Christian dark romances. If you haven't read them, I would 100% recommend. They're incredible and changed my life and absolutely encouraged me to write. So those are a few kind of scattered pieces of media, but things that I go back to over and over.
Yeah, that's awesome. Erin Phillips, I read A Crown of Chains and enjoyed it immensely. And so I have a couple of her other books that are on my list. And
You do.
this is the year. This is the
It
year.
is.
We're gonna
Yay!
get there.
I loved A Crown of Chains. I thought it was incredible, and I loved A Bond of Briars. I love the kind of
Yeah.
like witchy, Sleeping Beauty, Esther, not Esther,
Yeah.
Ruth vibes. So if you like that, check it out. It's really good.
I'm kind of thinking I might like it even more than A Crown of Chains, but we'll see. We'll
You
see.
might.
And
You might.
I'm excited about her Count of Monte Cristo retelling because me and one of my good friends we read that book in like high school together, and it's one of her
Yes.
favorites.
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, I enjoyed it, but you know, it's it goes over my head sometimes just with how like long and, you know,
hmm
interwoven it is. So,
Girl, I'm
but
gonna be real
anyway,
honest with you. I started it, never finished it. I was like, I just it was long and intense, so I haven't started hers, but I'm excited. I have it in my Kindle library.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I want to say thank you so much for joining us here today. I want to
Absolutely.
say thank you to the listeners for joining us today. And, you know, we've had such a great conversation and so many great recommendations and so much to think about and ponder. And, you know, we would tell you guys more, but oops, spoilers. We'll see y'all later.